Hi there, it's Peter Nankervis from Lighthouse Group. What we do as a business is accelerate transformation and growth through leaders. What I wanted to talk to you today about was customer obsession. First question for you though is, are you actually customer obsessed? Because it's likely that if you're trying to drive a transformation or growth in your team to be more customer obsessed, it's going to be hard to do that with your people and team if you're not leading from the front. So think about that. But what is customer obsession? It's actually about putting your strategy and your culture, every decision process, interaction around delivering maximum value to the customer. It goes well beyond what we've previously referred to as customer service or customer focus. This is about anticipating and proactively anticipating and responding to customer needs and expectations. So the proactive as opposed to reactive is the shift that you're probably looking to make. And why it's so important now and why most good CEOs actually are talking about this topic, customer obsession, literally. If you look at their annual reports and the statements from some of the big CEOs, they're talking about this right now because they know that in terms of driving their business, that people and customers are at the centre. It drives growth, it drives profit, it drives cash, it drives investment in assets to be able to improve your business. Customers and people are at the centre. And we know that if we can actually improve customer retention, even by 5%, we know from the research that that has a five-fold effect on profitability. It engages customers to your brand. Long term, it builds real sustainable value for your business. So it's really important in terms of what actually is going to connect people to not only the things that are internally to the business, but it actually points everyone to what's required externally for the business. It galvanizes everything to a meaningful pursuit, which is really helpful when you've got a large team of people and you're trying to get them rowing in the same direction. But structurally in most businesses, we're actually in silos, aren't we? It's a real challenge for senior leaders is to actually, how do we break those silos down? Because if I'm, let's say, in sales, I have a different perspective than I do in operations. And sometimes when I'm in operations, I'm going at full pace to deal with customer needs right now. I'm not thinking about what do they need in the future or able to think about how do we better deliver a better service to the customer because I'm so flat out here. So what actually most businesses are doing are trying to clarify their operating model. They're trying to get one end-to-end team working much better together, so there's much better horizontal leadership towards the customer. And they're trying to break down these silos so people are not just thinking about me, we're thinking about we. And that's why also they're going on a transformation to actually make their whole business think and act differently towards the customer. And many are doing that from sales transformation to customer obsession. So I want to introduce to you a simple framework to think about customer obsession. First is sort of how you understand the customer. Second thing is then how you're building your culture, aligning your culture to what you're trying to do with customer obsession. And third thing is about the leadership commitment that you and your leaders might need to be demonstrating to build a culture of customer obsession. So we start with understanding the customer. It's just so important to be able to do this in different ways. And I had a great example a couple of weeks ago in a coaching conversation with a managing director of a very successful business. And he had flown 89 times last year. And he was talking to me about what he's wanting or needing from the carrier, because one of the carriers that he went on, and I won't tell you who it is, but he flew on that carrier 79 times out of the 89 times. And he said to me, they've sent me surveys and stuff, but not once has anyone called me or got me in a conversation or organised a little focus group or a room of people to actually understand what my drivers are. Like, what are the things that frustrate me? What are the things that I want or aspire to with this carrier? And it's such a simple thing. If they ask me, I would love to be able to talk to them about this, because if they were able to just simply understand my personal needs, particularly if I'm flying 89 times a year, then they would be able to actually address and retain me from going to another carrier, and currently they're not, so I'm looking at moving to another carrier for my 89 flights this year. So it's a major loss from not really thinking about, well, how do you listen and understand your customer? How do you really build empathy with the personal needs of your core customers? And really sort of dig down to what's called the psychographic rather than the demographic of what do they want? What are their frustrations and aspirations and needs from you that you can actually then innovate with or deliver services that solve those challenges or pain points for the customer. So next I want to talk to you about some key points around building a culture of customer obsession. This has got sort of two frames. One is the organisational frame and the other one really is what's going on in society. So if we start with the organisation, most organisations are trying to create a transformation towards the customer obsession. So what does that actually mean? Is that they're actually trying to shift their business from being them focused, product focused, silo focused, towards being end-to-end customer orientated in terms of their business. And that means then that they need to think about what mindsets need to shift in their business from I to we, for example. What behaviours need to shift to make a better end-to-end delivery of service to the customer. What skills are needed, both in terms of how we're interacting with the customer and how we're delivering to the customer, as well as how we're attracting to the customer. Then what processes actually need to change, what key moments of truth or key situations is where we really can double down and deliver greater value to the customer. Where can we be excellent, towards that? And then what tools do people need to be able to help them to exercise that so that they have better ways of working? And that is the from to shift that most good businesses are trying to actually enable to make this shift in their business towards customer obsession. So that's the organisational side, but I'd also think about then societal. It's like, and what I notice is the really good leaders and the people that actually are building good stories and rhythms and symbols in their business of customer obsession are actually able to understand what's going on. Great example of a current CEO who's a manufacturer and distributor of product into FMCG and food service. They produce a hell of a lot of product and a lot of waste. They know, he's picking up that sustainability is a really key thing for a lot of big FMCG retailers. He also knows that the pet food market is going gangbusters, and so there's a lot of money now being spent in there. So he's picking up, so how do he then deal with his waste product? And what they've done now is creating cookies and creating small consumable products that are made out of their waste, putting it into FMCG for a really cheap price point, and it's taken off. But how does he understand what his customers are needing and wanting and what's going on, age brackets and the people that he's trying to lean into? It's really having your ears open and being in environments where you're talking to the customers in their social world a little bit more than perhaps you might do, because as senior people in businesses, we're so actually disconnected from the customer. We're not actually at the heart of the way they're thinking and feeling and needing and behaving every day. Our people are. So we actually need, because we're obviously the one that are making decisions or seeking to make decisions, we need to work on the ways that we actually understand that through our people or through observing what's happening in society. Lastly, I want to talk to you about commitment. Whose responsibility is it for the customer? Or whose responsibility is the customer? It's all of ours, right? Amazon is probably the most well-known customer-obsessed business. When you actually unpick what makes them customer-obsessed, it starts from the top. Jeff Bezos actually has in his meeting boardroom, he has a customer chair. So that chair is empty, obviously, but it represents the customer in terms of, well, if we're making a decision, if we're developing a new policy, a new process, a new system, a new strategy, we're doing anything culturally, what would the customer say if they were in the room? What would they want? What would their feedback be? What what would enable us to anticipate what they need. What's their number one leadership principle? Customer obsession. So it starts from the top, and it starts from prioritising customer obsession in terms of what your number one priority is. The way we talk about building leadership commitment is we use a compass as a metaphor, north, east, south, west. So north is about where you're heading. So you need to look at your strategic drivers to say, do my strategic drivers represent directionally making an aspiration towards customer obsession, putting it number one. One of our big clients has customer and innovation as its key strategic drivers, or two of their strategic drivers. So what they do is they put their high potential people in cross-functional groups in 6-week sprints, actually they call them garages, around developing MVPs, new products, new systems, new processes towards the customer. So it's bringing two of their strategies together through a really good initiative in their business, and they've been able to show countless really significant improvements to the business and actually create business impact from those because they're really clear on their north. And then the east then is about your values. Is customer at the heart of your values, or number one value for you? What does that mean for you as leaders? What does that mean from a standards in terms of the things that you're going to put in place to realise that value if customer obsession is really important for you? Because you'll quickly see where you're actually prioritising and what you need to prioritise to be able to connect to your north of customer obsession. And then the south then is, what are the things that are getting in the way? What are the mindsets, the barriers, the legacy things from the business of the past that's stopping us moving towards customer obsession? You'll find a lot of them are cultural, are mindset things, behavioural things that need to change. And as we talked about from the transformation, a lot of that is shifting from product to customer. It's shifting from me to we, from I to you, the customer. It's changing our perspective. So as leaders, we need to be actually challenging our people, having conversations to build empathy, to be able to get them steering towards a north of customer obsession. And then in the west, around your goals and your plan and the things you need to execute next to move forward towards the customer, have a look at your goals. Like, are they things that are building infrastructure around people, about customers, about product, or things that are actually platform things that are going to enable better service and anticipation of better service to the customer? So in summary, like if you're actually going to break it down, what is your north, your strategic imperatives built around having a customer obsessed business? When you look at your values and the way that you behave around here, does that represent putting the customer at the centre? When you look at the business, what are the key things you need to change to actually be able to, and think about the mindsets that need to change in your team. And then lastly, what are you measuring around the customer? Is it NPS? Is it a customer effort score? Or what are the things that you need to manage and measure to be able to focus on customer obsession? So if what I've talked about today resonates with you, or you have a real need around this, there are two specific ways we can help you. We can get a really clear leadership roadmap for you towards building customer obsession. And the second thing we can do is actually take you and your team through an accelerated program to build customer obsession. So if you'd like to know more about that, or you'd like to talk to us about your business, please get in contact with us. The details are here. We'd love to talk to you.